Hello, welcome back to our self-knowledge course. Today the conference is about the 4 ways. There are 4 ways to get back to our Basam of Urania, which is to the place where we should get back to our religare. And it is 4 ways. According to the Gnostic teachings, we have the way of the fakir, the way of the monk, the way of the yogi, and the way of a balanced man. So we will talk a little bit about each of them. And these 4 very important ways, every man that should lead the perfect matrimony should be acquainted about these ways. Well, the Gnosis is the synthesis of these 4 ways. But before we come to the synthesis, it's important that we get familiarized with each and every of these ways. In the Gnostic culture, we live the first way in practical life, learning to live correctly. And the second way lies on our church, the sacraments, the rituals. The third way we live as practical occultists, exoteric, practicing special exercises in order to develop the latent faculties, our dormant powers. In the fourth way, we live completely in practice of exercises and leading the most balanced life that we can. We study the alchemy, the Kabbalah, and we work upon ourselves to disintegrate the I, the psychological defects. So first of all, the way of the fakir. What is the fakir? Well, we all know that the fakir is that character that domains his body. He domains his willpower. And he remains still in one position for a very long time. And for that, it is really necessary to domain our willpower, to develop the will, the discipline. The fakir, he can control his willpower, but he cannot control the conscient will, which is the causal body, in which we will talk about in a little while. But it is important that in order to get control of the causal body, the conscient will, we need to work upon ourselves. With the fakir, we use his way to learn how to live correctly, how to change the behavior, how to acquire the discipline to avoid repeating the same habits. It is very important, but it's not enough.
The fakir fasts from food, abstains from sex, goes naked, lays on a bed of nails. Some raise their arms above their head for years until they become fixated, and thus they transform into living statues. They develop their willpower. They have subjugated their bodies.
As the second way, the way of the monk, we know that the monk is somebody who lives a retired life. He develops his faith. Characteristics of the path of the monk is just the development of higher emotion, changing the way you feel. Also, an interior transformation, the development of the mystic. The monk controls and develops his emotions
through prayer, single-pointed devotion to God, and self-sacrifice. The monk is able to experience superior emotional states and a level of communion with the divine.
Well, the third way is the way of the yogi. We know that the yogi in many cases it lives a chastity life. It sometimes, as following the way of the yogi, they abstain from sexual relations, the development of internal senses, we can say deep concentration and meditation. It is important to meditate, yes, of course, but in order to acquire the conscious will body or the causal body, we need to live the path of the perfect matrimony. And just by living the way of the yogi, again, it's not enough. So we can crystallize the conscious will. So the yogi becomes conscious researcher of the higher planes, which is very important.
The path of the yogi develops spiritual powers called siddhis, such as telepathy and clairvoyance. A yogi may be well versed in spiritual scriptures and rituals and have some psychic powers.
We are not here to reduce the values of this way or to minimize their importance. By the contrary, we are here to emphasize that these ways are good when we combine them, when we use them together, when we use a little bit of each. It is important to combine all of these characteristics. And that will be the synthesis that we will come up to the point in a few minutes. Now, after talking about these three ways, we go back to the fourth way, which is the way of the balanced man. The man that leads his life in complete balance. And what is the balanced way? Being in everything without becoming the victim of anything. It is living the path of the perfect matrimony, the perfect marriage. To know the art of knowing how to live.
The fourth way balances the development of the intellect, psychic powers, superior emotions, and physical discipline. This path applies the techniques of meditation and transmutation. The foundation of this path is psychological maturity in fulfilling our responsibilities with ourselves and others.
We say that by living only the monk or the yogi or the fakir, it's not enough because we need to combine them into a synthesis of Gnostic teaching. On the Gnostic path, we find the synthesis of all the four ways. The fakir obtains the domain of his physical body, he strengthens his will. The monk controls his emotions. He has a total domain of his emotions and his faith, his mystic. The yogi, he has the discipline, and as a synthesis, we combine all these ways in order to live the fourth way, which is the way of the balanced man. And in order to do that, of course, it is important that we just live the three factors of the consciousness revolution.
To die psychologically, to be born spiritually in our virtues, to sacrifice for mankind through service.
So, as this being the first lesson of the advanced chamber, it is important that we keep that in mind, that by now we are on the verge of radically changing our lives. We should know by now that it's not only by changing outside that we will reflect the changing inside. As a matter of fact, it's completely the opposite. We have to radically change inside first, so that reflects on the outside. It's useless to think that we can deceive the ego by just changing our habits and being somebody in front of friends and the people that we relate with. in being a different person at home, being a different person with our families, being a different person with the way we treat our children. Not necessarily our children, but the children in general. It is important that if we want to see the change around us, we ought to start doing it by examples. We ought to start doing it by our actions and the way we do things. If we do not change ourselves, we cannot expect others to change. If we do not observe the way we think and the way we act, we will not be able to see the changes.
As above, so below. As within, so without.
Part of this lesson is also practice of concentration. We were supposed to have a few minutes in which it's important that we learn how to concentrate. Like it's been said, we need the synthesis of these 4 ways to live the way of the balanced man, the man that lives the perfect matrimony. Take a few minutes. I'm going to guide you through what would be the practice of concentration. So I would encourage you to sit in a comfortable position. Let's just breathe deeply for a few minutes. Let's just breathe in. Hold a couple of seconds and then breathe out. Breathe in again, holding for a few seconds. Breathe out. From now on, let's just try not to think about what will come and what has passed. Let's just try to concentrate on right now. Imagine using your creative imagination. Your mouth is just like a chimney, expelling all of the toxicity that you have within your body as you breathe out. And as you breathe in, imagine a perfect place in nature where you have pure air, pure oxygen coming in and oxygenating all of your cells, oxygenating your body, nourishing yourselves. Breathing in deeply, following the airflow. You just closed your eyes and don't think about what will come and not what has passed. Just concentrate on this very moment and try to listen to your heartbeat. Just try to relax of your body, removing all the tension from all over your body, and try to listen to your heartbeat. So, you go into deep meditation. I'm going to be silent for a few minutes so you can enjoy yourself. So, I hope you can use this lesson to practice. Keep practicing. I'll see you next time.